Why? Hiro asked, his voice weak but curious. Sunny leaned forward, his tone dark and bitter. I may not have learned much in my life, but I do know this: there's nothing more pathetic than a slave who starts trusting his master. Hiro lowered his head, feeling the weight of Sunny's words. I see. Then to Hiro's surprise, he started laughing. You really are a wicked little piece of work, aren't you? Sunny rolled his eyes. There's no need to be rude. But Hiro wasn't paying attention to him anymore. Good. This is good. My conscience will be clearer now. Sunny groaned in irritation. What are you mumbling about? Just die already. Hiro chuckled again, and then looked at him with a piercing gaze. Somehow he seemed less sick now. You know, that plan would have worked if I were a normal human. But my soul core has already awakened. I've killed countless enemies and absorbed their power. The bloodbane poison, no matter how unpleasant, cannot kill me. Sunny's eyes widened in shock. Crap, he turned to run, but it was too late. Something hit him in the back, sending his body crashing against the rock wall. A sharp pain pierced his side, and with a scream, he fell to the ground. Struggling to his feet, he staggered away, trying to escape. He managed to make it to the old path, finally seeing the stars and the pale moon above. But it was as far as he got. Stop. The cold voice froze him in place. And if Hiro truly had an awakened soul core, Sunny had no chance of escaping. Turn around. Sunny, with his hands raised, did as he was told. He turned to face Hiro, who had wiped the blood from his face and was staring at him with a grim look in his eyes. The two men stood facing each other, coldness in the air. Was it worth it? It doesn't matter. I'll keep my promise. It will be quick. Hiro drew his sword. Do you have any last words? Sunny remained silent, his eyes not leaving Hiro's. Then, now without a word, Sunny pulled out a small silver bell. Sunny's eyes widened in shock. Crap. He turned to run, but it was too late. Something hit him in the back, sending his body crashing against the rock wall. A sharp pain pierced his side, and with a scream he fell to the ground. Struggling to his feet, he staggered away, trying to escape. He managed to make it to the old path, finally seeing the stars and the pale moon above. But it was as far as he got. Stop. The cold voice froze him in place. If Hiro truly had an awakened soul core, Sunny had no chance of escaping. Turn around. Sunny, with his hands raised, did as he was told. He turned to face Hiro, who had wiped the blood from his face and was staring at him with a grim look in his eyes. The two men stood facing each other, coldness in the air. Was it worth it? It doesn't matter. I'll keep my promise. It will be quick. Hiro drew his sword. Do you have any last words? Sunny remained silent, his eyes not leaving Hiro's. Then, without a word, Sunny pulled out a small silver bell. Hiro frowned. Where were you hiding that? Sunny shook the bell, and a beautiful sound echoed through the night. Stop! Hiro shouted. What are you doing? Sunny continued shaking the bell, and Hiro watched, confused. Then, just as suddenly as it appeared, the silver bell vanished into thin air. Hiro's eyes widened in disbelief. What did you just do? Sunny remained silent, not even breathing. Hiro's frustration grew. Tell me, what did you do? But Sunny didn't answer. He was staring, not at Hiro, but at something in the darkness behind him. Hiro's eyes widened in fear as he turned around. Sunny was in a desperate situation. He had tried everything, but now he had one final chance. A risky gamble. He was facing a powerful enemy and had no hope of defeating him directly. His bloodbane poison was supposed to be a secret weapon, but it had turned out to be almost useless. His ability to see in the dark didn't help much either, as Hiro seemed to sense their surroundings without needing any light. Whether it was Hiro's hearing or some magical ability, Sunny didn't know. What mattered now was that they had left the cave and were standing under the open sky. Sunny only had one thing left in his favor. He knew the tyrant was blind. Hiro didn't know this, so Sunny hoped it would give him a chance. However, knowing this advantage wasn't enough to make things easy. It was a hard task to act on this knowledge, but Sunny had no other choice. In a final attempt to survive, Sunny tried to stay as quiet as possible and rang a silver bell. According to the bell's description, it could be heard from miles away. Sunny hoped that the tyrant would hear it too. He now had to wait, stall for time, and hope that help would come. As he waited, Hiro became more and more frustrated, his voice full of anger. Tell me now, or you will regret it, Hiro threatened, but Sunny didn't answer. He stayed still, barely breathing, feeling the pain in his chest but trying not to moan. Hiro continued to demand answers, but Sunny remained silent, his eyes locked on the growing danger behind Hiro. The colossal figure of the Mountain King, the tyrant, appeared out of the darkness. Sunny's heart raced, and his lungs burned with the effort of staying quiet. His heartbeat felt so loud that he was afraid Teddy would hear it, but Hiro was still speaking, making noise and distracting both of them. Just as Sunny had hoped, Hiro Bajetto turned around, sword raised, but it was already too late. The Mountain King's massive hand reached out from the darkness and grabbed Hiro with an iron grip. Hiro's sword scratched against the tyrant's skin, but the Mountain King barely noticed, pulling Hiro back without any effort. A horrific roar filled the air as Hiro struggled, but the tyrant didn't let go. Sunny, terrified, slowly turned away, not daring to look back. He started running, moving up the mountain path as fast as he could. Behind him, Hiro screamed in desperation, but Sunny didn't stop. He climbed higher, his legs heavy and his body battered, but he kept going. The wind howled around him as he made his way toward the peak, his mind torn between guilt and survival. He muttered to himself, "I did say I'd watch you die, Hiro. But I'm not really a liar, am I?" After what felt like forever, Sunny finally reached the top of the mountain. His body ached with every movement, and he was covered in blood and bruises, looking like a shell of a person. His clothes were torn, and he could barely stand, but he had made it. The mountain loomed above him, jagged and proud, a symbol of everything he had endured. Despite the cold, despite the pain, Sunny pushed forward. At the peak, there was a temple, a grand structure made of black marble, now in ruins. The walls were cracked, the roof collapsed, and the gates were destroyed. But despite its decay, Sunny was satisfied. He had reached his goal. "Found you," he said softly, his voice weak. Softly, he limped toward the ruined temple, his thoughts scattered. He could barely focus, his body refusing to keep moving. He thought of Hiro, who had been so strong and ruthless, and now was dead. Funny, Sunny thought, I'm still alive. But what does any of this matter? His chest burned with pain and blood dripped from his lips. What do you know about cruelty? What could you possibly understand? Despite his thoughts, he kept walking toward the temple, the cold pressing in. But his steps were growing slower, his body washing down. He stumbled and nearly collapsed, but somehow he managed to keep moving. As he climbed the steps of the temple, he noticed bones scattered around. Human and monster bones, remnants of those who had tried and failed before him. The guardians of the temple still lingered, invisible and ready to kill anyone who came too close. But went? They sensed something familiar in Sunny's soul. They stepped aside. He didn't even notice as he continued, his mind blank and his body failing. Inside the temple, the air was cold and dark. Moonlight streamed through the cracks in the roof, lighting up patches of the floor. A large black marble altar stood at the far end of the hall. Sunny, too exhausted to think clearly, approached the altar. He was done. He just wanted to sleep. He climbed onto the altar, lying down. He felt like he was dying, and he didn't mind. It's over, he thought, his body cold and broken. But just as he was about to close his eyes, he heard a noise. The Mountain King was back. The tyrant, still terrifying and monstrous, stood at the entrance, its 5 blind eyes staring at him. Sunny barely cared anymore. He thought to himself, I guess this is it. The tyrant moved closer, stretching its hands toward him. But at that moment, something unexpected happened. A voice filled the temple, one that seemed to come from the shadows themselves. You have offered yourself as a sacrifice to the gods. The shadows stirred, coming to life. They wrapped around the Mountain King, pulling it in all directions. The tyrant struggled, but it was no match for the power of the shadows. In a flash, it was torn apart. Blood and pieces of its body spilled onto the floor. Sunny watched, dazed and confused, as the temple fell silent once again. The voice spoke to him one more time. You have slain an awakened tyrant, Mountain King. Wake up, Sunless, your nightmare is over. The shadows faded, and Sunny, still in shock, found himself alone in the ruined temple. The dark hall was quiet once more, and Sunny had no idea what just happened. He felt a strange pull, something deep inside him shifting, but he couldn't make sense of it. What had just saved him? Was it really over? The spell whispered, prepare for appraisal. Sunny finds himself in a strange place, somewhere between dreams and reality. It's an endless black void filled with stars. Between these stars there are countless strands of silver light forming an intricate and beautiful net, creating constellations. This scene takes Sunny's breath away.